Good evening, good evening. Let's see. We're gonna wait and see if some people jump on here. 8:04. It's a Tuesday evening. Yeah, while we wait for that, I'll try to find this thing.
Outrage among the right, certainly, if it.
Peace. Good evening, Marie. Basim, how you doing, brother? Ain't seen or heard from you in a long time. Jasia, peace. Miles, my good brother, peace. Charlene, peace. Nancy, peace. Cassandra, Tracy, peace. We're going to get it cooking in just a minute. We're just going to wait for some more folks to get on and get it cooking. All right. Chantel. Where in the world are you now, Boston? You're not in Boston no more, I'm assuming. You know, inbox me, whatever. Right. Let me see. Prime Video. Yeah, we're gonna start in a minute. I'm just waiting for a couple more people to get on, and we're good to go. Of course, I never did this. I'm probably gonna have to pay. All right. I wanted a couple more folks to get on, but I guess we can just get it popping anyway. All right. So, as we said, I don't age. You know, it's funny. I told my mother, it's all my years drinking. I've been pickling myself from the inside. I done cut down on the booze, damn near all the way off. About to be all the way off. Okay, so I have to sign up. Okay, I'm not good. All right. Good. Brother Paul Joseph is watching too. So I hope you can be our resident law enforcement expert if you don't mind. Peace, Dave B. What's popping in the place to be? All right, so let's get it cracking. So first of all, not only is this a regular conversation, like I have, on these live things, but also too, this is a little bit different. This is an experiment, if you will, as well. You are now helping me with my homework. It's one of my favorite hats. Somebody got it for me for a gift, and I love it. But yeah, so you're helping me with my homework right now. Taking a sociology class, and we were to pose a question to folks. And we could have did a number of things. I chose to use the form of a question. And the question was, let me see if I can actually go on my live while I'm there. Let me see if this works. Let me see. No, it won't let me. It won't let me post a thing. Ah, damn it. Ah, damn it. All right. Well, I was trying to post up the actual thing. Why can I not do that? That's kind of whack. All right. Well, in any event, I thought I was going to be able to post up the thing, but I cannot. Well, in any event, we'll get back to that. So, at the end of the day, what we're talking about here is the Boston police and this reputation. We've heard it. God knows we've heard it time and time again. Boston Police Department is the best in the country. You know, Boston Police Department, thank God when all the incidents around the country happened and caused, turmoil and whatnot. We're no Chicago. Boston is no Ferguson. It's no Baltimore. We've been hearing this back in the day from, Rodney King. It's no L.A. when Amadou Diallo. It's no New York. So Boston constantly, I always say, as a person, if you're raising kids or you mentoring youth or whatever, you have to be careful of people who are so self-congratulatory. And it's like, I don't know if people even say this anymore. Maybe not, because internet culture is damn near built on it. But, don't break your arm patting yourself on the back, And I think Boston is the champion of that right there, just a lot of the mechanisms here, but we're talking about police, so let's stay focused on police. They are open and ready to receive all praise, right? But can't take a little bit of critique. Okay. And here's where I'm on their side. I'm not talking about crazy critique, the name calling, your mama stink and you a fat slob and, I hate you. I'm not talking about that type of critique. I'm talking about legitimate critique. Hey, the way the police operate here, or this budget item here, or, this killing here, sensible critique. They just can't take it. So Boston police for a long time has, I say grind the monkey. The organ grinder, when they grind it and the monkey just dancing and dancing. That's how they do, to me, trotting out this line that has been for so long now, that Boston police is just perfect. There's no problems here. Everywhere else, where there's problems, corruption, no, not in Boston. And we're gonna hone in specifically, too, on the killing of civilians, right? Because that's one of the ones where they really get scot-free on. Boston, like most major cities, and unlike most major cities because of its size, Boston's very small. As you know, you could walk from Milton, right outside of Mattapan Square, and walk to Harvard Square, in a couple hours. There's no other major city that you could do that in. You try to walk around, the length of, New York or Detroit or good luck, right? Long walk. So, Boston, like a lot of major cities, has major problems with corruption and whatnot. Let's also talk about the Northeast, the quote unquote, the mafia cities, if you will. Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, Detroit. That's not all Northeast, but you know what I'm saying. These are major cities that, kind of for a long time, had that kind of wink, wink, the good old boy network going where, here in Boston, we've had a trifecta, what I've called it, particularly under Menino, when it was the politicians, the police, and the press. In other places, you can also add for the, I don't know, quadfecta. That you could also add in, the criminal element in the gangster community. That hasn't really been at play so much here since the days of, Whitey Bulger and Angulo and all that type of stuff. That kind of died down in the 80s where that became a significant thing. Or they got smarter and disappeared into, the corporate world and development and, all these type of things and so on and so forth. And we just don't hear about it. But there was a time when the criminal element was more influential in the city. And this is, once again, most major cities: New York, Philadelphia, Detroit, Chicago, so on and so forth. there were mayors that had these personalities that was, in on it as well. Once again, in those same major cities. And the police departments were notorious. And for whatever reason, Boston, which is, everybody has heard that, Boston is a racist city, right? Okay, yeah. So, Boston being one of the original 13 colonies, the beginning of America, known as a racist city, but yet, and everybody right now is, got their eyes on the police, but somehow up here, we just think, oh, Boston police, no, they're all good. And they just, for whatever reason, are able to escape criticism. So the question tonight is, do you find this to be true or am I bugging? So now I did a poll on Facebook, which is halfway not fair because it's based on, number one, people who can see my posts, so friends or whatever like that. So most of the people who are in my friend network, if they didn't already know, have heard it by me or are going to pretty much guess it may be a loaded question, so it kind of gives you a hint to the answer. But on December 5th, I put up this poll for 24 hours. Simply said, I need your input. I'm trying to gauge general sentiment for an experiment. Based on your own knowledge and beliefs, would you agree or disagree with the following statement? Based on your own knowledge and belief, the BPD does not have problems like other police departments across the country with killing civilians. There have been no cases of BPD killing civilians. 24% of people said, yes, the BPD has no issue. 76% said, no, the BPD does have an issue. Now, I wish, my genius dumbass really knew more about Facebook polling and whatnot, because I can't go back. I can't see who said yes, who said no, to kind of get a sense of, male, female, age. I could, perhaps ask somebody if they were comfortable with explaining their answer a little bit more to dig in deep. So all I have right now is that 37 people voted. 24% said yes, the Boston Police Department has no issue. The Boston Police Department is different. There are no cases of BPD killing civilians. There's no issue here with the BPD. 76% said no, there is an issue here. Okay, so I would expect the 76% on my page. In fact, I would have assumed it. And now thinking about it, I would have thought it would have been higher. But there are 24% of people, and I know that it's much higher. If I was able to stand outside of Fenway Park or, much in the spotlight right now, Faneuil Hall, and take a poll of, regular Bostonians, particularly, dare I say, white people, that number would jump up because the general consensus, and this is kind of what I'm getting at, the reputation is that there's no problem in Boston. Are y'all aware of that? Am I bugging? And let me see here too. I think that, let me see. Okay, good. Okay, good. So I can add people to the broadcast because I do want to try something different here. Add people in. I want people to chime in. So just based on your own experience, say, just here right now, if you guys could answer in the comment section, please just answer, have you heard the whole thing that, the Boston Police is the greatest, in the country and the BPD is great. We've heard it from a bunch of commissioners, our mayors and all this type of thing. Okay, right. Yes. But I'm not talking about police in terms of solving homicides. Okay. I'm not talking about all the issues the police got. Ain't nobody got time for that. Literally, we would need to document it because it's a lot, right? No, I'm trying to be specific here. When I say the BPD has no issues, across the country, police departments are getting scrutinized, chastised, criticized, looked at based on police brutality and the killing of civilians. Okay? The Boston police, the city of Boston, for decades, this is not just Walsh, decades, Mayor Menino, there has been something that has been pushed that the BPD is unlike these other places. It's great. It's wonderful that there are no problems here. So I want to focus on police brutality and the killing of civilians. But first of all, let's establish, and I'm not talking about what we know in the hood. Is the Boston police dirty? I think everybody knows that, there is dirt going on, right? I'm talking about, have we heard the other narrative that like nothing goes on here? And then like to prove it is, we all went crazy about, the various instances that happened, rightfully so, in other cities, across the country, from decades ago to now. But I'm saying, like, do we know that murders happen here in Boston? Do we know that the Boston police has killed people here in Boston? Do you know that, or no, you do not know that? Let's start there. Does the Boston Police Department kill people? If so, when's the last time you heard about it? All right. And Jacob, you just got on here good, because too I sent you something a minute ago. If you could look it up, that'd be great right now. For a couple of the ones that we missed on the database. One was in Pawtucket. All right, so without further ado, y'all, since ain't nobody really responding super duper in there, I just want to know, am I bugging with this narrative? Have y'all heard this narrative? Like the BPD is all good. All right, so I'm gonna post this in the comments. This website, I want y'all to check it. There you go. Thank you, Marie. I am unaware of any murders by BPD. That's what I'm talking about. Mo D, that's what I'm talking about. Long time ago in the 90s, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. See, this is what I'm talking about. Thank you. Yes. Okay, Boston. Hard to overstate how much Boston sees itself as exceptional or enlightened, despite, let's say, the killing of that last imam's brother. Exactly. Let's take the first. Okay, well, no, let's take the latter part. So, once again, there was a Muslim brother who was killed, and we're gonna get into this. That was up there on, like Washington Street, going there up by like the projects and the Burger King, like you going on towards Dedham and whatnot. The brother of the imam, of course, they said it was this and that. He had a knife. He was lunging towards. I mean, they always. I mean, they're never going to say nothing. Like, no, we were completely wrong, and we shouldn't have happened. They're never going to say that. And in various cases, it gets more complicated and convoluted and whatnot. But in any event, right. So that situation happened. We're going to talk about that and others. My point is, this vision that Boston does, once again, to pat yourself on the back. I mean, people who do this in just regular life, people who just are constantly like on their own tip. Boston as a city does it. It's disgusting. Like, there's just no problems here. No problems with race, no nothing. No, our police are great. It's wonderful. Go Patriots, Red Sox go. Hero worship, put the cape on, all that. Nothing to see here. So the first part of that statement, it's hard to overstate how much Boston sees itself as exceptional or enlightened. It's like somebody who will brag to you about how humble they are. Boston will brag to you about how progressive they are and how wonderful it is. Meanwhile, the city is burning around them and ain't nobody, oh, what? You smell smoke? I don't smell. Is somebody cooking hot dogs? You know what I mean? These people literally, it's crazy. No, very little ability for reflection. Okay, so Marie says she was unaware of any murders by the BPD, and Mo D said a long time ago in the 90s. So I just put that website up, shotbypolice.blackstonian.org. if y'all would click in that. Okay. Jacob says one a year if we average it out. That's no fair, Jake. Jake is one of my partners, my primary partner, really, in a lot of this research and the visualization of it on the websites and all that. So he's cheating, you know, because he already knows the answer. Jacob. All right. Nikki Williams says the BPD kills its civilians by other means. Actual facts, yes, absolutely. But I'm talking about really killing. Bang, bang with a gun. And we're going to get into it. All right, okay, more people. We still have a major shortage of police officers of color. Yes, that's true, Mo. All right. My man Ellie says all lies. Absolutely. All right, so if we go to the website, which we need to update now. So the latest one, according to this website, there's been a couple more. We got to add them. So that's what I was talking about, Jake. If you go to shotbypolice.blackstonian.org, if you follow that link, please. The last time via our record here is in 2016. A brother by the name of Terrence Coleman. Terrence Coleman was 31 years old. Okay. We have to do a better job, Jacob, too, of breaking it down like with a legend. I want to do like almost what we see, a legend, like, you know, maps or maps now, with the little icons and whatnot. But when we go through some of this, I want us to pay attention to a couple of things. One, is everyone sitting down? Shocker. All of these people are Black, Latino, or Cape Verdean. Are you shocked? Okay. Number two, and let's stick on number one for a minute. All of these people are Black, Latino, or Cape Verdean. That's when it moves beyond coincidence and moves into the realm of pattern. Okay? It's not a coincidence. It happens repeatedly to the same or similar groups of people. Okay? Next up, you'll notice that a lot of these are men, as it goes across the country. Now, a couple of more of the points. What police will do is say, particularly Boston police, because they never do any wrong, and this is really what got me on this, and this is really what got me on this rant. I'm trying to weave all this together. I'm a little jumbled up. Okay, there's a comedian, Jeff Ross. Big fat face guy. If y'all know, he does the comedy roasts and all this, right? The celebrity roasts and all this. Well, one of his roast specials, he roasted the police. And in his own words, he called police departments across the country. And the only ones who had the balls to answer, his own words, was the Boston Police Department. And the Boston Police Department allowed him to roast them. This was under Commissioner Evans. I was looking for it. It used to be on Comcast On Demand. It's not there. It's not on Netflix. Now I have to pay for it on Amazon Prime or something. So I'm going to pay for it just to get the video and whatnot, which I should have did a long time ago for free. But in any event, in this roast, and many police officers that you may know were there. There's some people that you know who were like, all part of the joke. He did ride-alongs with people that we know and so on and so forth. And as a critic I am of pop culture, of news, of media, and of comedy, and people don't, know that about me as well. But, as I checked it, and I like irreverent humor. I like George Carlin. I like Richard Pryor. I like Andrew Dice Clay. I like Sam Kinison. So I'm no prude. I've heard all the bad words, okay? I've heard all the racist jokes that can be told. I'm not like offended, sensitive to, don't come up to me in a bar and try to tell me a N-word joke. That probably won't work too well. But, okay, I don't know what link you just posted, if it's the YouTube thing. If you found the whole thing of Jeff Ross roast the cops, then great. Normally all I can find is clips, but I'll check that out. But in any event, when he got up there, first of all, the whole thing, it's jokes, and a lot of it is, poking fun at the cops. But when you really do the meat of them jokes, it's really us that's at the brunt of it. So a lot of jokes were about, like how cops beat people up. Yeah, cops, oh, they're horrible. They beat people up. Who's getting beat up, though? Not so funny. He did a donut joke. Said, I think I finally figured out why cops like donuts so much. Because it looks like there's a hole shot in them. Big laugh. Cops, donuts, they shoot people. But who's getting shot, though? Not so funny. So what ends up happening is you're making fun of one group that generally people have decided it's semi-okay to make fun of. They're public servants at the very least, what have you. But, cops, lawyers, they got jokes. But then when you really look at the crux to those jokes, the joke's on us, Jack. Okay? So one of the jokes slash press lines, because of course as a comedian you're looking for information, you're looking for material, if it will. So if I got to go to John Hancock and do their corporate dinner and I got to come up with John Hancock jokes, I need them to provide me with information, maybe about the historical figure John Hancock, but certainly about the inner goings on of their little stuff, because I don't know bill and accounting and Shirley and accounts payable. I don't know all this stuff, the little nuances. So they feed me information so I can be more funny and witty for their banquet. So one of the things that he regurgitated, which was just a bold-faced lie and disrespectful, was that, it's like, let's give it up for the BPD, because, he's like, this is really serious. This is not a joke, but, let's give it up for the BPD because the Boston Police Department hasn't killed anybody in 28 years. A lot of stuff's going on in this country, and the BPD hasn't shot and killed anybody, and then I think they made the clarification who wasn't armed in 28 years. So that's the first trick of it. They'll do and this gets me back to, pardon me, y'all, gotta follow me when I'm talking. I know I'm all over the place, but it all makes sense. When I was talking about the classifications for these people, when we noticed they're all black, Latino, and Cape Verde, and how many of them male. Another thing, and what the cops will do is what they had on them at the time. So yes, this one got killed, but he had a knife. But he had a gun, or da. So we also have to look at, were they armed or were they unarmed? Then, if they were armed or unarmed, if it's a gun, the case, did they fire or did they not fire? Right, because that's a whole nother level of escalation, if you will. Then also too is mental issues. This is another big one. A lot of these times when the police come to the scene, police have already alerted them that there's a situation going on. And in many cases, they've also said, hey, we need you to come to Blue Hill Avenue. My neighbor's going off, but, my neighbor, Michael, he's a veteran and I think he's not on his meds and he's a little cooked up. So, just know he's not on his meds. He's normally okay. But that happens more often than you think. Then the police come and, an hour later, Michael's dead. Right? I'm not making these things up. This has happened time and time again. It's happened to young people. It's happened to old people, so on and so forth. Okay. So, let's go. The last incident, Terrence Coleman, October 30th, 2016. Okay, and there's more since this. This is just the last of our, October 30th, 2016. The mother called for an ambulance to take her son to the hospital because he wouldn't leave the front porch for 2 days. Mental issues. Authorities said Coleman was suffering from paranoia and schizophrenia. Okay. Officers fatally shot Coleman after he attacked EMTs with a knife, according to the police account. Coleman's mother says her son was not armed or violent when police shot him. Okay. Now, you know another thing, and damn, just always think about more work. Just for case examples, I should show you other cases of people who, like, there was a case of a white man who was on his porch with a shotgun. They disarmed him, took him away successfully, no shots fired. Of course, we know this plays out nationally. Black man, whether he had a knife or not, and of course, we're not condoning EMTs getting attacked or whatnot. I don't know the situation. But the question that often comes up is, isn't there another way? Well, when it comes to us, and particularly if you see the picture of this brother, big brother, 31 years old, he fits the bill. He's dangerous. So oftentimes they make an on-site decision to just put that threat down. Okay? So that's October 30th, 2016. Right? October 12th of 2016, right? This guy, Kirk Figueroa, 33 years old, he had a gun. BPD got called because Figueroa's roommate called 911 after he threatened him with a knife. He opened fire when the police responded and wounded 2 officers. See, these are the ones where now, what are you going to do? Now, once again, I don't even know if it went down like that. Still might not have went down the way it went down. But we got to take things for, we don't have a crystal ball, right? So if it went down like that, if in fact he fired at police, then that's, hard to defend, right? Because if you fire at police, you have to expect that they will return fire. And generally, the results of that will be your death, as a general rule, as long as I've been in the streets. Peter Fan, 29 years old, February 12th, 2016, on Stanwood Street, armed with a handgun. Another one they say was killed in an exchange of gunfire. They said they were spawning a shooting nearby. Okay. Let's see. Santos LeBoy, 45 years old. Oh, pardon self. And now, too, pardon self. Here's an important point to note. As Jake said before, on average, you get about like 1 a year. Because, so for instance, that was 3 in 2016. 2 of those were in October. The other one, February. So that's 3 in 2016 alone, right? And then some years, you get 1 or 2, what have you, all right? Santos LeBoy, 45 years old. This is a Latino brother. The other 2 were black. Latino brother, 45 years old. This happened at the Charles River Esplanade. Another one who we think was mentally ill. He had warrants or what have you, but they were like calls coming in because he was like acting strangely and had a knife. He was in traffic and over there in the Esplanade. He came and got shot by a state trooper, I believe. Okay, over there by the BU Bridge in the Esplanade. That was, once again, June 19th, 2015. June 2nd of 2015 is the case that Bassem was talking about. Usama Abdullah Rahim, 26 years old. All right. June 2nd, 2015, 4600 block of Washington Street in Rosendale. As I said, up in that plaza there where Burger King was and, Osco Drugs and all that. Now, they say he was armed with a knife. That video came out, was very controversial. They say he lunged at him and all this, da-da-da. I didn't really see it that same way. Once again, these are controversial. I'm not here to try to plead each of these cases. What happened? Oh, I think my connection just got janky. Okay, is it back? I hope it comes back. All right, well, yeah, there we go. So I'm not here to plead each of these cases and try these cases. The fact that they exist and there's that many of them, we just went back. We only in 2015, right? And if folks don't know, that's the phenomenon that I'm curious about. How all this happens in BPD. We got major marches for what happens in Ferguson and in Florida and in LA and in New York and Baltimore and Chicago, and people get to their hashtagging and their Twittering and rallying and protesting and all this. But the things that happen right here in Boston, oftentimes we don't do nothing about, and oftentimes it's because we're ignorant about it. And I don't mean ignorant in any bad way, calling people ignorant. I mean ignorant in the true sense of the words. Do not know about it. Had no knowledge about it. I would make a case that it's not covered in the press in the same manner that it is in other cities. The BPD and the city administration has always done, not just Walsh, Menino really perfected it, of covering these things up. People like Ray Flynn and them, the time was different. The police were really in the hot seat then. Charles Stewart and all that. You couldn't really, well, you could cover it up because they damn sure did. But it was out there, but there wasn't a big blowback. But people knew about these things. All right? People often knew what was going on. But in the past, let's say decade to 15 years now, all of a sudden, the BPD did a masterful job, and the city administration did a masterful job of switching up the brand. It's like a company that, I don't know, a company that had a bad reputation, a food company that had food that poisoned people, made people sick, and they rebrand that thing, and boy, you sopping that stuff up like never before. They slapped that label on it, new and improved, and you were all over it, right? So that's the phenomenon that I'm talking about. How here in Boston, an intelligent city like Boston, with all these concerned people, how it is that this escapes us, and we are allowing them to get away with this line like it's all good, because it's not all good. March 27th, 2015, Angela West. This happened on the corner of my street. Y'all might have remember old boy. I grew up with him, know his fam. I hate that this happens. He jumped out the car at a stop. Well, he didn't jump out first. But then he shot an officer, and then got out the vehicle after being surveilled and followed. And they shot him and killed him on Humboldt Ave. Once again, some of these are, you can't, once you fire at an officer, we pretty much know what the outcome is going to be. Right or wrong, how it's written, what the narrative is, this is how it's going to happen. And unless they straight out lying, which is not beyond or beneath them, then it kind of is what it is. 2014, April 5th, 2014, Remus Andrews. This was Mass Ave in Tremont, South End. Police were called to an apartment, kind of a domestic dispute. Once again, he was in the kitchen area. The officers say he lunged at him with a knife. Some of the family says he didn't have a knife, whatever. Shot in his, I think it was his mama's or his girlfriend's kitchen. That was April 5th, 2014. Daryl Dukran, rest in peace. Daryl, December 7th, 2013. Anniversary just a couple days ago. I worked with his family. God bless these people. This happened over there, Geneva and Westville. Again, Boston police say approached, and that he let off the gun. Controversial. disputed. All the video content came out. Where they're harder to defend under those circumstances. Some of these I'm not going to do because they're not in Boston. This is Boston and beyond. So like Dennis Reynoso, that happened in Lynn. But God bless his family. That happened in 2013. Military veteran. A lot of these people too are also veterans. Rowdy Hendricks, August 7th, 2013. Another one. They say he had a handgun. Let's see here. Yeah, they say the men began shooting. Ross Batista, June 2nd. He was 38 years old. 2013. BPD responding to a shooting outside a house party. Burrell Ramsey White. You know, a lot of people know this. You know, shout out to the family. Affectionately known as Bo by his people. They got the campaign Live for Bo. A lot of questions in this case. Very controversial case. This happened around Copley. All of a sudden, cameras ain't working. They say he had a gun. There's no gunpowder residue on his hands. A bunch of questions. Okay. And see, a lot of these cases is very dirty. It's very dirty, and it leaves a bad taste and no justice and no resolution for the families. And once again, there's not the outcry and the public. It hasn't really sank in and stuck into the public consciousness, the public database, if you will. I don't know why. What's different about Boston where these things don't resonate? Why folks don't know this? Why this is not like a fact that we know, right? We know about these other cases across the country, and we're forgetting what happens right here in our backyard. Many of these are around the same time. The year that, Trayvon Martin happened, and this is the same thing. 2012, all these years, there's something happening. Sean Bell and all these other things. These are tragic cases. Now, these are two of the most egregious. This one and the next one I'm about to mention, some of the most egregious because of the controversy there. Okay? So now here in 2011, Mark Joseph McMullen, another case we worked on, and God bless him and his family, rest in peace. September 7th, 2011, this happened. It started off on Blue Hill Avenue. In a car, the police saw him talking to a woman who was known to police. Let's call her a street girl, a woman of the night, whatever you want to call it. And he was talking to her, in the car, window rolled down, talking to her. So they figure he's either about to purchase some sex or purchase some crack. They flash the lights. He hits the pedal to the metal. Leaves the lady there and drives and does not stop. He is followed and pursued from Boston, Blue Hill Avenue, Boston, all the way out to Rockland, Mass., where he dies in the hail of bullets by the Boston police. Once again, super controversial, because at the end of the day, he was not armed, despite whatever they thought. And at the end of the day, whatever they might thought he was guilty of was small potatoes. Did they think that he was delivering, 50 kilos in the trunk of the car? No. They thought he might have been purchasing a small amount of drugs, or perhaps purchasing, a small amount of money for sex. Right? And for that, they pursued him all the way from Roxbury, Blue Hill Avenue, all the way out to Rockland, Mass, against department protocol, against every rule in the book, so on and so forth. Shoot him dead. Do you find drugs? Not to my knowledge. Did they find weapons? No. What happens? Absolutely nothing. The cop doesn't get any disciplinary action, and in fact, the cop and some other cops were given an award some months later. I kid you not. And once again, we've seen this happen in other parts of the country. This is how we know that this is like law enforcement wink wink. Where some of these officers who have been in these controversial situations, in the midst of the controversy or within a year or so after, they get an award. Oh, as happened with another Massachusetts affiliated case. Y'all know DJ Henry. He was up there going to school and whatever, it was upstate New York or whatever. He gets into his situation. That officer, Aaron Hess, I want to say, if my memory serves me correctly, that officer kills DJ Henry and gets awarded by that department within the next year or so. This is like a law enforcement thing. Once again, if I took some time to actually do a study, I could, verifiably show you across the country officers who are awarded after a controversial situation, death or a big brutality case or whatever. So Mark McMullen, and now once again too, 2011, this family still has no justice. 2012, the family of Burrell Bo Ramsey, they have no justice. Shout out to many of y'all may know Carla Sheffield. She stays active. She's been dealing with not only this issue and the quest for justice for her son, but also, can you imagine the trauma of deal? Not only do you got to fight a new battle for justice, but you got to do that at the same time that you dealing with all this grief that your loved one has been taken away from you by law enforcement, who's supposed to, protect and serve and da-da-da-da, taxpayer dollars and da-da-da-da, the heroes of the countries, the heroes of Boston, da-da-da. And when something bad happens to you and yours, they got a million excuses and ain't nobody even gonna say sorry. Okay? Mark McMullen, September 7th, 2011. I go on and on. Tyrone Cummings, June 14th of 2011. Another brother mentally ill. Yuri Stamps, many of y'all know that was not Boston. Once again, that was Framingham police. Manuel Jr. De Vega, young 19-year-old Cape Verdean young man. Navalis Terrace up there in Dorchester. Another controversial one. Police said he had guns and exchanged fire. Community said he didn't. We'll never know. Another one, this is in Dartmouth, Mass. Joseph Ramos, August 11th, 2009. So these are not Boston. Boston police. Marquise Barker, 38 years old. November 21st, 2007. All right. This is the brother who was having a mental breakdown. He was a deputy, not a deputy, corrections officer for years. I forget, does it say right here? 18 years, correction officer. He was having a mental break. He was on medication and so on and so forth. Was off his meds. His wife is calling the police, letting him know he's off his meds. He runs out the house, jumps into a cruiser. He lived up around like Morton and like around Corbett and Fuller Street and all that. He jumped in the whip and in one of their cruisers and rode down to the Walgreens at like Morton and Norfolk, where he was shot and killed. He had like a BB gun, air gun or something. October 3rd, 2005, Stanley Sini. That was down in the theater district. Luis Gonzalez. This was down Tremont Street. Mentally ill. This was an old man, 57 years old. They say he weighed no more than 110 pounds. He was a vet. People told, the neighbors told me he wasn't right. He was off his meds. There was Burt Boone. 27, 2004, shot under, let's see, he was shot 3 times, once in the back of the head. Right. He was fleeing the traffic stop, and witness said he was unarmed. And not for nothing, too, the history of Boston, too, none of these officers ever get found guilty of any wrongdoing. The only case that have ever happened, let me go down a little. This is another South End one. Israel Vasquez Robles, 56 years old, unarmed. He was driving away from Villa Victoria, and he was fatally shot. September 25th, 2002, we remember Eveline Barros Cepeda, young Cape Verdean girl, 20 years old, young mother. She was shot in the back of a car because officers opened fire. A car was fleeing and she was in. She wasn't even driving. She was just in the back seat. Kids peeled off. Okay, so on and so on and so on and so on. Let's see. Okay, this is the other one I wanted to get to. I skipped a couple, but I just wanted to go down here. February 12th, 2002, Willie Murray, black man. He was killed on Crawford Street by a cop. I believe this is the one where he was shot. Let's see here. Oh, not it. Okay, he was shot in the front seat of the car. Y'all can read the thing. Once again, this is super controversial. When I just told you about how these cops are never found wrongdoing. Well, this is the one case. Let me just read the thing. The Boston Globe stated this is the first time since 1991 that a Boston police officer will face criminal charges in a fatal shooting. One time since 1991. This was 2002. It's since then gone on. 2002. Only time a cop has been facing any charges in a fatal shooting. Okay? And guess what, y'all? Drum roll, please. Can anybody guess why that might be? Drum roll, please. Because that was a black cop who did the shooting. Bing! Because if his name was Officer Murphy, he'd have been good. Okay? But that same level of police protection that comes on down, that doesn't happen if you black. So out of all them cases, all them times of somebody shooting somebody, the one time somebody gets charged, it's the black cop. Let me see. Conley came in office. When did Dan Conley's reign of terror begin? I know I was in City Hall in 1997, 1998. Yeah. He was appointed in February 2002. So this shooting happened February 12th of 2002. This shooting happened right when he came in office, and it got adjudicated in 2007. Okay. So watch this. According to the Boston Globe, for the first time in more than a decade, a Boston police officer could face criminal charges after using deadly force in the fatal shooting. Police and Suffolk County prosecutors said yesterday they will convene a grand jury to investigate the death of Willie Murray Jr. Okay, blah, blah, blah. The grand jury probe was a rare move that may put the case into the hands of a civilian jury. Oh, heaven forbid. It's a rare move, as in never done. Right? This was the update on it. June 29th of 2007. Remember, that happened in February of 2002. June 29th of 2007. 5 years after Willie Murray was shot to death by a Boston police officer. Oh, boy, it's freezing up bad. Are we back? Yeah. 5 years after Willie Murray was shot to death by a Boston police officer, Black Sean West, after a traffic stop in Roxbury, the city agreed yesterday to settle a wrongful death suit that was about to go to trial in federal court. So it didn't even make it to federal court because the city settled out beforehand So the one time in decades that a cop goes gets charged with any wrongful anything after the shooting of a civilian, it takes 5 years. It happens to be a black cop, of course. Now the city settles it, tells the family, listen, let's settle this out of court. We don't want to get this thing to court. And then for the loss of your loved one at the hands of the police and what we now know is a wrongful shooting, they gave that family $75,000 settlement. That's disgusting. $75,000. I know people that came up more than that on a slip and fall. $75,000, y'all. All right. So once again, what I'm challenging here is the narrative. So I hope y'all really see what I'm doing, because we're not gonna, try each and every one of these cases and all this type of stuff. Zada da da. I just wanted to put all on to the fact that this information exists out there. We've put it together. I got to do a better job of keeping it up to date and adding stuff and da 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 more. But this narrative bugs me that there's nothing wrong with the Boston Police Department. The Boston Police Department is the best in the country, and the Boston Police Department doesn't have any of these problems like all these other godforsaken places. You thank God, Boston is no Baltimore, it's no Chicago, it's no New York, it's no LA, it's no Ferguson. Yeah, well, guess what? We got our own issues here. And for the number of people that we have, if I really do the comparisons in terms of, cities and all that, when we look at, a city like Chicago or whatever, and how big Boston is itty bitty, y'all. 680,000 people. And a bunch of them people don't even really live here. You're talking about college students and so on and so forth. So, Boston is an itty bitty teeny weeny city. For those that don't know about population and demographics and whatnot, the borough of Brooklyn in New York, y'all know Brooklyn, all that. Brooklyn is bigger than Boston. The borough of Brooklyn is bigger than Boston. Okay, Brooklyn I think has 1 million people in it. All right, Boston, as I said, 650, 650 or 680,000. Right. So I want y'all to peep this. If you do the average, it goes on to about one a year. I gave y'all the website shotbypolice.blacksonian.org. I just want to go back, because when we started doing this, we started getting more and more information. And yeah, I want to say, yeah, at least back to 1986. 1986 is the last time that the Boston police shot a white person. From all the records that we can tell. If anybody else knows it different, I'd sure like to know about it. But May 1st, 1986, Vincent Mancuso, who's 18 years old, let's say unarmed, shot, died in custody, shot in the back of the head by a Boston police officer, Joseph Quinn, after police said he stole a vehicle and led them on a short car chase. So Vincent Mancuso is the single or white victim of who got killed by the Boston police. The only person to get killed by the Boston police, Vincent Mancuso, 18 years old, May 1st, 1986. And before all the naysayers and the haters go to it, that's not true. What about the white girl? No, I'm talking about shot and killed. Gun, bullet. I'm not talking about the ones that's really controversial and we could make a case that it's an accident. The young lady Victoria Snellgrove, who won a monumental lawsuit against the city of Boston, who shot and killed the Red Sox game. She was shot, killed with a pepper spray pellet gun, which the manufacturers didn't even know that thing could kill. It was a fluke accident, albeit at the hands of the malfeasance of a Boston police officer. But it was a fluke accident. The weapon's not even intended to kill, right? So you got that case. Then you also got the case of oh, Jesus, his name just slipped out of my brain. That's so wrong. And I feel so bad for the family. The Woodmans. And I don't want to say it wrong. Is it David Woodman? David Woodman? Um, oh my God, I feel so bad. Those people are so good. Yes, it is David Woodman. Yes. Parents so great and been very supportive, of other things, challenging the police and whatnot. And so David Woodman, who once again, not shot and killed by police, he was roughed up and left, with respiratory issues, not given help. Excessive force was used, which led to him. I don't know if he ultimately died of stopping breathing or was it a heart attack, but whatever. Breathing and a heart issue due to that thing. I don't know if it was the heart first and then stop breathing or the breathing first and then the heart. But in any event, these things like that happen, those are different. I'm talking about people who are shot and killed by the Boston police. And there's other reports out there about state police and da 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 da. Okay, good, Jacob. You added the one in Pawtucket. In that same message that I reminded you about those, there should have been another one. But in any event, all right, y'all. So anybody have anything to add or chime in? Please put something in the comments. I've talked a lot. I'd like to discuss this a little bit before I jump off. Questions and answers, any points to ponder. But this is really just challenging the narrative because the next time you hear it, now you know it's BS. And don't let people get scot-free. It's not fair to these people's families. It's not fair to their lives and their loved ones to act like, oh, this doesn't occur here, like their lives don't matter. While we're screaming Black Lives Matter. Even these, activists and whatnot around Boston, this is not like a big rallying cry. Many of them had no idea about the phenomenon and only ended up meeting some of these people actually because I told them about it in the beginning because I couldn't believe that nobody was paying attention to this, right? So how does this happen in Boston? I want to challenge this narrative like these things don't happen in Boston because damn it, they do. And those people matter. Their families matter. And the fact that those lives were taken and the BD, the press up here, community at large can have short-term memory loss. We could have collective community amnesia, whatever. I ain't going to let it go. This is real. All right. So before I sign off, any questions out there? Anybody got anything to say? Give me a comment or something so I know you're there. And then I'm gonna wind it up. I just wanted to put this conversation out there. How we doing, y'all? Okay, I see people shutting off. So questions. Okay, no questions. All right, y'all. Well, then I'm out of here. The system is acting janky, so I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Tell somebody you love them. Better yet, show somebody you love them. Show some love to a youth or elder. Love those you got around you. Water. All right. Push through the pain to the power, y'all. All right. Peace.